all things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Okay, here's Bill Browder explaining to you what Putin did.
I estimate that since Putin took power until now, he and the 1,000 people around him have stolen $1 trillion from the Russian state. $1 trillion. And that money should have been spent on healthcare, education, roads, public services. And instead, it went to yachts, villas, private jets. And how can anyone be happy with a situation like that?
When I had Mikhail Khodorkovsky on the program, once Russia's richest businessman, he said that he worried that while Putin for the first, let's say, decade was busy stealing money and appropriating, siphoning off funds, he's now worried that it's even worse than that Putin is no longer interested in material gain. What he is interested in, he has these visions of being the next Peter the Great or Ivan the Terrible. He wants to leave a kind of grand mark on Russian history as having saved the Russian-speaking people. Do you see that?
Well, he's definitely not interested in money, because look at what's happened to his money. It's being frozen all over the world. So there's something else going on. But I don't think, if you take that analysis, that would say that he's got some national interest. He's interested in the greatness of Russia. But how can anyone be interested in the greatness of Russia if they've stolen all the money from the people and hollowed it out completely and absolutely? And so I would say this is more about a desperate little man who's afraid of being killed. That's really what it comes down to. Is he's just a small little man who is worried about the people rising up against him.
Seriously, dude, that is what's going on here. And every time Russia invades a neighbor like Georgia or Crimea or Belarus or Chechnya, every time his approval ratings go up, and people stop focusing on the fact that he is stealing from them, and that their roads and their tunnels and their bridges and their industries have not had a single nickel of investment, okay? And that all of Russia's, a largesse, all of its, aluminum has all been divvied up for the benefit of these 1,000 people around him, the oligarchs around him, all, saying, we'll keep quiet. You can go, just let us, have the aluminum industry, let us have Rusal. And that's what he does. First, he pits them all against each other for the metal or whatever industry they're interested in getting into, whether it's Gazprom or Rusal Aluminum Company, it doesn't matter. And he'll take whoever's interested and he'll pit them against each other. And the last man standing is who gets it. Okay, that's the last person that gets the, aluminum, or the last man that gets, to say he's in charge of Gazprom. That's what he does. Khodorkovsky's one of his oligarchs, okay? And all Putin wants now is imperialism. That is what he's interested in. He watched America be an imperial country. He watched America trudge through the Middle East. He watched us do some really horrendous, ugly crap with Republican presidents, okay? Biden came in, he ended our foreign, interventions, right? And people criticized Biden for getting us out of Afghanistan after 20 freaking years. People criticize, Obama for getting us out of Iraq, right? I mean, every time we end the wars that the Republicans start, we're criticized for the way we end it. We didn't end it the way that you would have liked to see it. I mean, it's just so unbelievable, right? And now Russia is acting just like we used to. Russia is acting like an imperialist freaking nation, and it's invading, its neighbors, and people are actually rooting for them. That is just the sickest thing. That is just crazy. That is just nuts. RJ in Michigan.
Oh, hi, Randi.
Hello.
Oh, this is a heck of a time, isn't it? I have a little statement and a question. Since the start of the war in Ukraine, we spent over $50 billion on a well-deserving fledgling democracy against a fascist invasion. And yet, we haven't spent $1 in time or money to protect our own democracy from the rising threat of fascism. We face a far greater threat from within our own country than from abroad. Mm-hmm. And I look at it this way. We're potentially one election away from losing every freedom we've ever had. And what are our Democratic leaders doing about it? Why is it that our leaders aren't forming a Senate committee on un-American activities?
Because they don't have the majority in the House of Representatives.
Well, in the Senate, they only need a simple majority.
Well, true that. And so maybe they will. Maybe they will actually, take a look at the investigation into the investigators. And, but I mean,
not only just the
it's
investigators.
so ridiculous at this point. We saw an insurrection in this country. We saw people get violent. We saw them
precisely
right, and so we had
precisely,
and so we had a select committee, and they investigated it, and they showed you hours and hours and hours of testimony, hours and hours and hours of phone messages and text messages, and the things that Fox News was saying versus what they were texting each other. Okay, it's there for everyone to know.
Right.
The problem that
but
America
point,
has is social media is rigged so that the most vitriolic, the most hateful, the hate America first crowd is literally foisted on people who are unsuspecting victims and think that this is the majority of the American population thinking this way.
Correct. But what I see is
so if we're going to do
news organizations, these political action committees, the big money and everything, we need to investigate these people, and we need to paint them with the stick of fascism. We need to make fascism as dirty a word as McCarthy did to commie or red or pinko, and we need to do it soon. If we don't, we're going to be inside a prison camp looking out.
Well, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in political people investigating political people. Okay, I just don't think that works. I am for getting the money out of politics. I would think that would be a really good start. But you will never, ever, ever get enough votes to do that, because that is the only way that they know, and by them I mean both parties. It's predominantly Republicans, though. That's the only way they know to get money in their coffers, and it's never enough for them, right? I mean, Donald Trump raised $250 million after he left the presidency by stoking hatred for the fact that he lost and saying that it was a stolen election. He was literally able to put $250 million in his pocket. Now, how did he do that? Social media. They amplified every one of those claims. I mean,
precisely.
And
why not?
I'm not for politicians investigating politicians. Okay, the idea that the algorithms are rigged against us, that these social media companies need to be regulated in some fashion, and I don't pretend to know what the mechanism for holding them accountable for their algorithms is, but I'm sure there are people who do. And every time we take testimony from social media organization, what do we find out? Oh, they're interested in using algorithms to perpetuate the hate. That's how they make their money. That's what's profitable for them. That's what people react to. And social media is reactionary. Okay? And they want to get a rise out of you. So that's what they do. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.